So the rumor mill is just all over the place right now with draft stuff, and the Saints are kind of in the middle of it. And we've talked a lot of quarterbacks over the last couple of weeks, a lot of quarterback talk. And you got the Jackson Dart buzz early, which is still kind of there. You got the Shedeur Sanders buzz that's really pushing out right now. But yesterday there was some buzz on the internet that the Saints had worked out Jalen Milroe and were showing some interest there. I don't see Jalen Milroe as even a potential selection at 9. Maybe you get back into the 40s, okay. Maybe you trade into the first round, okay. I'm not saying the Saints should or shouldn't at this part of the discussion. I'm just saying if we're talking about that as a possibility, like that's what it's going to look like. I don't think that's a possibility at 9. I know that teams jump at quarterbacks, but Milroe at 9 feels like a push. Now, they're talking about him going to Green Bay for the draft. That gives them information that he's probably a first-round pick. All that is speculation, but we know what Jalen Milroe is as a player. And if you want to start trying to connect dots, you can look at the success that Kellen Moore just had in winning the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, and you can go, okay, that's a really athletic quarterback. The Alabama ties, they have the same first name, Jalen Milroe and Jalen Hurts. Or are they similar players? Is that a skill set that Kellen Moore obviously had success with in Philadelphia, and maybe it could translate to New Orleans? That's the question that you raise, and I have an emphatic answer, no. It's not. Look at their performance in college. Jalen Milroe was the 2-year starter at Alabama. In his first year, he completed 66% of his throws. The second year, 64% of his throws. So you average that together, 65% completion rate. His first year as a starter, 23 touchdowns to 6 picks. His second year, 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. And yeah, he ran the ball well, 726 yards this past year. That's a lot of numbers, but let me bake that into the discussion when you start to bring Jalen Hurts in, okay? Jalen Hurts, in his final collegiate season, completed 70% of his throws, 32 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. 32-8 touchdown to interception. Milroe's last year as a starter, 16-11. That's half the touchdowns and 3 more interceptions. And oh, by the way, Jalen Hurts ran for 1,298 yards in his final season. Milroe ran for 726. Again, that's about half. So these two guys, in my opinion, are not even close in terms of their college production and performance. Not close. Now, I would not have thought much of Jalen Hurts entering the draft, quite frankly. I watched him in Tiger Stadium, didn't think he was great at throwing early in his career. Then you saw the 2019 team, and they went nuts in that game in the semifinal. And obviously, I saw more of him than just those games. But I'm thinking that's probably not a guy that's going to be an NFL quarterback. He's not an elite pocket thrower, great athlete, great head on his shoulders, incredible leader, great story. Is he a great NFL quarterback? Probably not. That's how I would have assessed Jalen Hurts, and I'll put that right out there and not try to hide from that. But I think he was well further along than Jalen Milroe. Well further along. So, no, I'm out on this entire thing. The one piece to that puzzle that you could potentially look at and go, okay, what positive can we come up with? Jalen Milroe becomes probably the best athlete at quarterback in the NFL. You would put Anthony Richardson in that discussion. Kyler Murray's still there because he's still in his prime. That's a guy that's just an elite level athlete. Josh Allen is in that discussion, certainly. Trevor Lawrence is a good athlete. But Milroe's size, strength, and speed give him assets that trump everybody else in the entire NFL. But there's so far to go as a passer, I cannot get on board with it, even as a project. If you told me they took him in the 6th round, okay, I'd be great with it. But that's not realistic. Like, this is a guy who's going to be off the board in the first 55 picks. And I just do not believe the Saints are in a position to make that selection. I don't. You want to tell me the Cowboys took him to stash him behind Dak for 2 years? Maybe. The Saints have so many holes in their roster. To take a project that dire this early in the draft would be a massive mistake, in my estimation. I understand the parallels. I understand trying to make that work. I understand where that discussion would come from. And I want to be clear. I understand the temptation. I mean, you watched him in Tiger Stadium this year. You watched that guy run like a horse through LSU's defense. And I think you put him on an NFL field, he is still a dynamic runner. But he cannot sit back there and throw against NFL defenses because he cannot sit there and throw against SEC defenses. 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, that's just disqualifying. That is disqualifying in my estimation. And we sat there and watched him. Like, they won a lot of games when he was the quarterback there. They got to the playoff 2 years ago. He was after the 2023 season, he was the quarterback who had the most returning Heisman votes that was coming back to college football. But he was not any good last year. So I appreciate the Saints for kicking the tires on all these quarterbacks. I think their head is in the right place, trying to see what they can do at the position. I think it's reasonable to look at 9. I think it's reasonable to look in the second round, and I certainly think it's beneficial to look at their mid-round picks at a quarterback. I think with 9 picks in the draft, making one on a quarterback that's got some exciting skills is reasonable. But I don't believe Jalen Milroe is going to be there in the 4th round. I think to take him, you're going to have to take him in the 1st or 2nd round. And right now, the ultimate fear that you would have as a New Orleans Saints fan is that you do address a need at 9 and take someone, whether it's, a tight end, whether it's an interior defensive lineman, an edge rusher, Ashton Genty, like whatever, Tyler Warren, like you take that, and then on top of that, you trade 2 or 3 of your picks to move back in and take Jalen Milroe, and then mortgage assets to pick up a project. That's what you absolutely cannot have. So this is a reasonable discussion, but it's one that I am very, very strongly opposed to. If you were ranking my takes in terms of like 10 is I will not compromise, I will not budge, this is a certain fact, and you take 0, it's like, I don't really care. I'm like, on Jackson Dart, I'm like a 6. Like, I don't really want to do it, but okay, I get it. On Shedeur Sanders, I'm like a 7. I don't really want to do it, okay, but I'm not like, taking Jalen Milroe in the 1st or 2nd round, I'm a 10. Like, that can't happen. And I've been plenty wrong times before, and I'll be plenty wrong times moving forward. But this is not an early round draft selection at a position that generally doesn't work out, and with a guy whose production at the college level just wasn't very good outside of a couple of games. Like, Quincy Carter got himself drafted because of what he did against LSU, and it did not work at all. Actually cost me my Cowboys fanhood in the process. Probably due to age and losing all those really good players and not getting very good, and then I just kind of lost interest, and it never came back. That's an aside. But this guy played how many good games last year? 2? 2 good games last year? I'm going to need more than a first half against Georgia and 4 quarters in the rain against LSU. And you don't really have anything beyond that. Big athlete, strong, tantalizing. I get it all. No thank you on Jalen Milroe to the New Orleans Saints. Next. That's where I am on that. Beck, what do you think about taking a lottery ticket on Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, no, I
have a sense of where this is going.
I would be okay with drafting Jalen Milroe in the 5th or 6th round, maybe. That's okay. Not the
really
first or
feels
second.
he feels like a 5th or 6th round pick to me, but his position just doesn't dictate that we allow that to happen.
Right,
you just have to leap.
The value, not the value, but the I guess the inherent value of a quarterback just seems to always be higher than any other position, and so you just have to overreach to get them usually. So, yeah, I would be pretty saddened to see the Saints if Saints draft Jalen Milroe in the first few rounds, but it's a lottery ticket no matter who it is. But I do think that with him, it's a very much a project and something that's going to take a a lot of time, if at all possible, to really transform him into a NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of some teams. I mentioned Dallas that like would make a little bit of sense as an insurance policy or a project. The Saints are in no position to be taking out life insurance policies when you're this much in debt, to use a human deal. Like, it just doesn't play. So I could not be more opposed to this idea, and so we'll see. I listened earlier today to Nick Underhill on the show with the morning guys on Off the Bench, and they were talking about Shedeur Sanders, and he was kind of iffy on that and didn't really think it was going to happen. At the very least, and this is something I brought up yesterday, at the very least, this is interesting. Like, I don't know if it's encouraging to Saints fans. I don't know if the result's going to be great. It is interesting, and we're kind of in the interesting business at this point. So we'll see what the Saints decide to do. We're inside a month to draft day now. As back into this month, the Saints will ultimately decide the next move for the franchise as far as quarterback goes. I'm just hoping it is not Jalen Milroe. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.